So first I want to say how honored I am to be here. I think my only time on UCLA was really to be escorted off for skating. And not be invited here is really cool. I grew up in Florida, and my folks, my dad was a nuclear bombardier in the Korean War. And so he's a pretty intense character. He became a really successful businessman and multimillionaire. So I grew up with a lot of benefits and privilege in a sense. My mom was kind of she really was kind of a real deal prodigy. She was a concert pianist when she was a little kid. And when I was 5, she was still kind of a kid. And I guess she taught sciences and was going to go into nuclear research and give it up to her family. So they had a lot of expectations for me, and none of that stuff was that really important, except to say is that I wasn't at all what they wanted or expected in terms of what I did with my life and what they gave me. And that was a struggle throughout that probably solidified my character, and in some ways maybe explains why I made it so far. Skating nowadays has a lot of hype, and it's on MTV, and I guess associated with being cool. Back then it was more a little grungier. And my folks, again, my dad being a dentist and so successful, he was like, do not get involved with that. First, you'll knock your teeth out, which of course is the first thing I did. And you'll turn into a bum. And so he said no when I first asked him. My dad's real old school, disciplined military. No means no. New Year's Eve, 1977. He had a drink or two, feeling good about his family. I love my family, and that was my chance. So I went to him and just pleaded. And it was, I got the okay as long as I agreed to quit when I started real life, when I went up to college, or if I got hurt. First time I got hurt, I had to hang it up. So I was all padded up from that point forward. And I went on. So I started when I was 10. Within a year, I got kind of sponsored by the local shop. Didn't mean much, but you kind of stoner surfers, but they took me around. I started entering contests. And within another year, I started winning a bunch of contests. And within the 3rd year, already it was interfering. Again, I grew up on a farm. And so there was me, and there was cows, and the nearest neighbor was like a mile away. And so I was extremely introverted and never really talked. And I only focused more and more and more on my skating. It's really what I loved. I found what I loved. I mean, if there's one thing I can say up front, is I found what I loved, and I knew it. And if there's one thing that I can say really that I would carry through the end of this is, I mean, in the end, I've started a company, it became really successful, sold it. And one day, I walked into a law office, science papers, walked out, and they gave me millions of bucks, right? And I walk out, and it stuns you. And you're like, whoa, what's important to me now? Like, is this success? Is this what I want? And as time goes by, you kind of keep asking yourself, you don't know how you're going to feel, so someone puts a gun to your head, or likewise, if something happens really good, like, how's this going to change me? And in the end, like, none of that stuff, it meant really anything. It all goes back. I mean, it's good, yeah, security and stuff like that, but finding what you love and sticking with it, that's the main thing. That's the sort of piece I get, creating what story you're going to have. And I guess that's, again, what I kind of want to reiterate over and over again. So anyway, I'll step back to, I got really good, won world championship when I was 13. My father was headed pretty badly. So my father said, look, I'm going to take your skateboard away. That's it, because you're getting too weird. You get too and so it was summer. Bones Brigade, Stacy Peralta did something on Dogtown. One of those popular guys cover USA Today. That's the guy who was my team manager, Tony Hawk. Bones Brigade was really, really, at that time, if you're into the history of it, it was a big deal. This guy called my house. Again, I'm just this bumpkin stuck away in Florida, and this guy out of California calls and says, will you come to California and enter this contest? So at that stage, my dad was like, look, this is your last fling. I was 12, my birthday's in August 17th, and your last fling, you go to that contest and you quit, and then you start normalizing, I don't know, join a baseball team or something. So I went out, and this thing that at the time it was a big deal, the World Championships, really international affair, big crazy scoreboards and stuff, you know? And I won, and I didn't know what hit me. And so these people were coming up to me and they're going, offering me stuff, interviews, and to be on this team and that. It's amazing how fast your life changes. And I beat, this was important, I beat a guy named Steve Rocco, who was by far the best. He's 6 years older than me. He was a guy, he was my hero. I went up and I competed against this guy and I beat him. And of course he runs around the whole place going, he didn't beat me, son. So I go home and that was it, I had to pack it up. It was it for me. And then people started calling my house. My dad goes, look, you did something. So go on with it, but just know, you know, this is fake in a sense. It's going to end. And so I always had that hanging over me, that it was going to end. And I think that that's something that hardened my character as well, is I kind of seized the day. Every year it seemed like it was potentially going to be my last year skating, so I started with it. Starting at 13, I started to go on tour. 14, I was traveling internationally, and every year I defended that, you know, called the title, and again, it sounds corny with all this stuff, ooh, I did that, I won this, but I guess it was like 36 or 37 contests over 11 years, and I lost one of them. And that drove me crazy. That's quite a burden to carry. No, I wouldn't even play checkers. Because of what it takes to be in that spirit. And the thing is some people really arise for competition. Like when all eyes are on, like they do things they could never do. Jack Rocco's like that a lot. Best friend in a sense. And I'm the opposite. I just shut down. And so for me to do that in front, I had to work extra hard to make my runs, and it all became sort of mind games for me. So I did that until, well, through college. I mean, by then I was making a good amount of money, traveling, again, all over the place. Studied biomedical engineering and math. Did that for 4 years. And at the time, I was traveling about 40 weekends out of the year, something like that. And family life was a little stressful for me, you know, because I was always, I wasn't what they expected, you know. And so things were getting pretty rough. And I was developing kind of hypertension. I remember going to the doctor, not being able to sleep, and he's going, dude, you got to slow down. I didn't say dude, but he goes, you got to slow down. And freestyle for what it was, and you notice the way you've seen Fuel TV and stuff like that. Street skate a little different. What I do is more technical, sissy, however you want to describe it. And it's based on what I grew up with, it's freestyle. And so I had to sort of change what I did and abandon everything I knew, because there was no more of that. And so I transferred into sort of my version of street skating, which is where I am now, and that brings us to today. You know? This is what I love and still do, and hopefully will do, you know, as long as I can just at least cruise around. One of the things that I loved about skateboarding is the sort of freedom, and it's, I guess you can call it, you know, more of an art than a sport in this sense, and the freedom to sort of be an individual, to create. That's what I liked. Never to be measured directly against somebody else. That's what I love about skating. There's always that guy who is that gifted, who can do basically whatever you do, just a little bit better. There is always that guy, always. There's one in front of you, there's one behind you, chomping at you. You gotta get on a plane, and you gotta sign all this stuff or whatever. And by the way, try not to be high, and try to be nice. You know, don't beat anybody up. The first guy we had a real genuine gang background. He beat up somebody's father in front of the kid at Disneyland. At the demo, right? So this kid's hero beats up his father.
Do you play Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and if you do you use yourself as your character?
No, it's easier for me just to skate, and that's embarrassing, because I go there, the Never Stop guys are really cool in the valley. They're so fun. It's like a frat house full of programmers, they never leave. And they always ask me, did you play the game? Would you like it? What's your favorite part? And I have no idea what to say.